with 2 games. Before we get to that, my name is Kyle Senra. We've got Gladys Louise-Taylor. We've got Dan Rosier, the B-League. And how are you both doing?
Good.
How are we today? We're all feeling good? We're good?
Yeah, feeling great.
Steelers are flying.
Yeah.
Gladys is feeling good.
Still, 4-0, as Tom Brady would say. 4.
Oh.
Golf joke. You really hit that one out of the... Oh, I was going to say out of the park. That's the wrong sport. You really you drove that 350 yards. Good job. Way to escape the sand, up and down. So... No, I'm hearing echoes, but yeah. No, good now. Yeah, that's my fault. So, aside from technical difficulties, I think we're all feeling good and healthy. News and notes to start. Unfortunately, someone isn't. Most people might have watched and saw. Dan, I had thought of this as well this morning, and to see you on the show sheet put this, life imitating art. Alex Smith makes his return after a gruesome injury, and a few hours later, Dak Prescott suffers not the same injury, but a very similar fate.
It's madness, isn't it?
I think we're saying, everyone's saying season-ending injury. I don't think that's necessarily been officially confirmed. I don't know that it necessarily needs to either, but yes.
They're saying
Dak Prescott.
they're saying 4 to 6 months. They're saying 4 to 6 months, and unless Dallas makes a run deep into January, February. Hey, listen, the way coronavirus is happening, the Super Bowl might not happen till April. So, Dak Prescott didn't get that contract. I think that's the biggest talking point that everyone has hit on this week. And he in 4 or 5 games, he proved he was worth every cent some. And it's a shame to see this happen to him. And let's all hope he gets back sooner than later. But you're right, life imitating art. Alex Smith, I don't think he was expecting to get a run this week, was he? And here he is. So I think that's a feel-good moment despite everything that's going on. It's pretty cool to see Alex Smith. It's an NFC East thing, and as a Giants fan, I don't care what quarterback they have, but as an actual human being, it's amazing to see him get on the field with his family supporting him as well. You saw that too. It's quite emotional for his family and the fans of the Washington football team. And it was kind of cool to see him get back out on the field again, even if it's just for one game, right? Say they go back to Kyle Allen, still pretty damn cool to see Alex Smith out there again.
As someone who traded for and started Kyle Allen this week, I was to be honest, to see Alex Smith play and to see him not get injured when getting sacked by Aaron Donald, especially, was amazing. It was worth it. It was worth it.
It was worth 9 points.
Yeah. Hey, he got the rushing touchdown, even though it didn't look like he got it, but they gave it to him anyway. But, I mean, dude has to learn how to run it up. I mean, are they that worried about Alex Smith's health? Because, Alex Smith, Kyle Allen, there's no question who's the better quarterback. So if Ron Rivera wants to win games...
If you can survive Aaron Donald, you're fine.
I think it's Alex Smith all the way now. If you've given up on Dwayne Haskins, what's Kyle Allen? I'll disparage Kyle Allen as much as possible, as much as he has a decent name. I got a better name. But I don't know. I think it should be Alex Smith all the way, although having Kyle Allen on a team that I traded for him, well, be nice, that consolation prize too. But yeah, I think everyone around the NFL was happy for that moment and, had their breath. Everyone was holding their breath when Aaron Donald was on his back for the first time. Well, he ended up getting hit 3 or 4 times through the game, and looks no worse for wear through it. Obviously, we'll have to see through the week.
You'd think his line would have a bit more incentive to protect the quarterback with Alex Smith trotting out there. You'd think they'd be a little bit more incentivized to protect the quarterback. Nah, they just let them all go through. It was a pretty bad day for the Washington football team offensive line, but pretty amazing for Alex Smith as the quarterback, I think.
Jared Good here. Hope you're doing good, Jared. Hi, nice to see you too. Thanks for joining us.
Jared, what up?
So next port of business, and yes, we have 2 games this week. Titans-Bills was rescheduled to Tuesday night. So far, it looks like it's going to be played. Theoretically, tomorrow morning we could find out that a bunch of positive tests happen, or even one positive test happened and kind of cancels the whole game. So that'll be tricky to navigate, hoping obviously that's not the case.
Well, I think the Titans have had 24 positive tests so far with not the players, not just players, but players, coaches, personnel. And the players readily admitted that they went out of protocol and got together to do a little, training. So that they're allowing them to play, that they're allowing them to disrupt the whole schedule like this, to me is just ridiculous. I was looking at some stuff today, and it said that even though they haven't tested positive in any way, they haven't had any positive tests reported, Los Angeles Chargers have the most changes now of any team, and the Titans have the least amount of changes of any team going forward because of the COVID test. Yet they're the team that has the most tested positive players. It's ridiculous. The NFL has just, in this rush to get to the Super Bowl in February, they're just screwing everything, and which is ridiculous because people will come to the Super Bowl regardless of when it is. It doesn't matter. They're going to get that money. It's just, to me, it's just incredible that they're endangering all these lives and all these people, and seemingly not knowing what they're doing, and then blaming it on the missing protocol and this and that. And it's a pandemic. People are going to get sick. It's a pandemic.
Yeah, the implementation, because even before the season got started, the idea of 2 bye weeks was kind of talked about in the collective bargaining agreement. And I mean, they rushed forward the extra playoff team this year. So why couldn't they also rush forward a year early, that extra bye week? I'm sure the players wouldn't have minded. If anything, that you figure that's something the NFLPA would approve on pretty easily, an extra bye week, an extra week of rest through the season, on top of all the flexibility with everything. Just natural, better for players' health, I would think, right?
Right, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the NFL had the longest amount of time to figure out what to do, right? Because the NHL and NBA were in season when the pandemic hit, so they had to figure out on the fly what to do, and they seemed to, affect the bubble well and get it done. The NFL, meanwhile, had all these months to figure out how to protect their players, and decided that, maybe not. Maybe we'll do what's best for the brand and let the players. But it's the players. I mean, the NFLPA fell in line, so it's like the players are partly responsible too. But it's just incredulous to me that a $1 billion agency cannot figure out how to do this. It's just ridiculous. They've had maps with the NHL and they've had maps with the NBA. Just follow the map. It can't be that hard.
I think also as well, remember, this is the sort of thing that the draft was put off by this, remember? This is how long this has been going on for. We kind of forget that the NFL draft was remote. So they have had that much time, and you'd think that they would figure the scheduling out. Now, I've put in for tonight, I kind of feel like they should have had, a week, take a whole week off. Say that Thanksgiving weekend, right? After the Thursday night games, or the Thursday, whatever it may be, or even the week beforehand. Take that whole round off. Everyone gets the bye. Everyone gets 10 days to figure it out, because we're almost in mid-October. Thanksgiving's 4 or 5 weeks away. They could have a chance to reset here, or use it as a week to make catch-up games or whatever it may be. It's not great for, obviously, TV rights and all that sort of thing. Sucks for fantasy. But at the same time, if you're looking at protecting your players and all that sort of thing, and being able to almost have a mid-season reset, that would be it. But I don't think the NFL is prepared to do that, because obviously money talks. And I kind of feel like in terms of safety for players, coaching staff, even fans at this point, we saw in Dallas yesterday, still had 15, 16, 20,000 there, right? So you're giving people a chance to take a week or two off, regroup, make sure those teams that have had all those positives can kind of get themselves back in check. And you've also bought yourself a weekend where teams, who might have to play a couple games, there might be a few games on those weekends do. And it saves you it almost gives you a runaround way of having a bye week for those teams instead. So
hopefully everyone was as lucky as Kyle Scott Quiche, who apparently there's every lineup has a Titans-Bills player. As someone who, Tannehill was my most rostered quarterback. Josh Allen was up there. Jonnu Smith, by far my most rostered tight end. I'm feeling it too. Tons of lineups with Titans-Bills. Seems like lucky to have tons of shares of Robbie Anderson. Just to quickly touch on this point going forward, Robbie Anderson's an every week starter. Unless you play in leagues where you're only starting one wide receiver and a ton of flex spots, you can fill in different positions. But even in those types of leagues, I mean, he's getting double-digit points without scoring a touchdown. Heck, in a PPR league, he had 8 alone, just saw receptions without the 11 points he got for yards. So I think Robbie Anderson probably an every week starter now.
Yep. He's the Adam Gates curse. So, boom.
And also, good point by Jared. I was thinking this probably even about halftime. Just the fact that he came back. Alex Smith has already won Comeback Player of the Year, right? Even if he doesn't play another snap the rest of the season, it's that award we can lock up, right?
Well, yes. However, if Ben Roethlisberger goes nuts all season, he missed the whole year off too. I'm all for Smith and the feel-good story. All for it. That's fantastic. But Steelers are 4-0 and they go on a run, and this guy took a year off because of an elbow injury. That also might be a thing as well. Like, if you haven't noticed, there's a theme. I'm big on the Steelers this year, as we went over last week. Roethlisberger, you saw what happened yesterday. You give him the chance, he's going to take it. And I think he could also be in that conversation as well. And really, it should be a no-brainer because the guy nearly lost his leg. It's not like Ben Roethlisberger was going to lose an arm or anything, but at the same time, if Roethlisberger performs like he did in, 2018, this might be a different conversation in 3 or 4 months' time.
Should there be a conversation, which I just actually thought of, about NFL doctors? Because wasn't part of Alex Smith's problem was the care that he got? And wasn't Tyrod Taylor benched because the doctor who was giving him pain hit his lung instead? I mean,
Washington has had issues with doctors.
Well, yeah, that was. They fired their longtime medical. I mean, he had been there for over a decade, right? And it's clearly the problem. I mean, see how many ACL tears on the team, and I know everyone used to blame the field. Right? Oh, it's this field, but maybe it's now it's the Giants' field that's the bad one, not Washington. We'll ignore that. That's real grass. That's fine. It's this turf that's suddenly the problem. So I feel like people kind of over make up that excuse, and maybe it was the team doctor all along in Washington. So
if you're a team doctor and you ever allowed Jordan Reed last year to try and get back on the field, you were absolutely bananas. Terrence Williams left. Remember, Terrence was left tackle for Washington last year.
Terrence Williams,
right? So he didn't want to play because of this, right? Obviously there could have been more contract work, but he was like, "No, I'm out." It was like they have had those issues. You look at what I don't want to bring him up, but look at Darius Guice. He had issues with his knee. Bryce Love, he still hasn't recovered from that knee. There's a lot of things we can talk about in terms of Washington. And, doctors do amazing work. No one's out to hurt anybody. We can say that as well. However, at Washington, they had issues. Colt McCoy, he went down as well. He had infections as well. Same year as Alex Smith a few weeks later. So they had issues with a lot of things at Washington all at the same time. I'm sure none of it was intentional by the medical staff. However, at the same time, that kind of haunted them a little bit. So, to lose a Pro Bowl left tackle like that to the NFC champions, that's for nothing. There was a lot of gross incompetence for Washington as a whole anyhow. So,
true.
The doctors are a part of the
incompetence was the word I was going to use.
The doctors are a part of the story there, I think, as a whole. But Paul Richardson never got help. Josh Doxson never really got healthy, right? Like, there's a lot of guys out there that they had that never really came back from injuries the way that they might have. Obviously, Alex Smith's was a little bit more, we'll call it technical. We'll call it technical is probably the easy way to say it, but I think at the same time, I think it's only part of the story. But yeah, sure.
So apparently accents are quite a thing here. Maybe I should accentuate my Canadian accent, eh? And really teach some lessons. But I guess we're not going to do that. But I did want to circle back. We talked about the Steelers, right? And entering the season, my opinion, I think, correct me if I'm wrong about the two of you if you disagree with this, but the NFC West was considered the best division in football. I certainly believe that. With the 49ers, the Seahawks, I thought, two of the 5 best teams in the NFL right there, and the Cardinals. The Rams have had recent success. If everyone bought the hype in the Cardinals, there's with 3 wild card teams, theoretically all 4 of those teams could have made the playoffs. But I think now, without a question, the AFC North has to be the best division in football. I would argue the worst team in the AFC North is just as good as the best team in the NFC East because they tied. We know that they played each other and tied.
Why?
I think the AFC North has always been built for late weather football, for late time football. They've always been big on the defense. And Yeah, right now, yeah, without a doubt, with the Ravens and the Steelers and the Browns making a sort of run and their defense coming up, yeah, I would say they're the best division right now.
I'd say the NFC West is still giving that a run because Arizona seems to be still finding their feet. I'm not a 49ers person at all. I thought they were the most fraudulent 13-3 team I've ever seen because you can't be a 3-13 team for 10 years and then suddenly spike. I think
it wasn't the Packers, yeah.
Yeah, well, we could get to that another day, but the 49ers for me last year they had that run where like Rothersberger goes down, they play Mason Rudolph the next week. Andy Dalton goes down, they play Ryan Finley the next week. Like they had that going for them all year, and you can only beat who's in front of you. But at the same time, I kind of think that the NFC West, they're still got to get right. Garoppolo didn't look well this weekend. Running backs have been an issue. Coleman, Mostert, whatever it may be. Samuel's still coming back. So the NFC West for me, still in terms of being dangerous, it's still there. But the NFC, not like 4 teams are, 4 wins, right? Like that's ridiculous. 1 team's still undefeated. That's a big, tough division to beat. And as Gladys said, those teams are built for December, January. So, the way that's going, again, I'm still high on Pittsburgh, and they look pretty damn good this weekend too. Baltimore still look like they haven't hit their stride. And the running back grouping just looks a mess. Like, just enough. Like, let Ingram or Dobbins just do it. Like, get on with it. But
not Ingram. Let Dobbins do it. He clearly looks like he's got the most juice, and maybe that's because he's getting so few carries. And if he, give him all tons of carries, he loses that. But
sure, I mean, it could be that. But I mean, they were pretty damn successful with Ingram last year too. And if this is a way of preserving their running backs for later in the year, I get it as well. But Dobbins had 1 carry this week? Come on, like get on is the loss of Marshall Yonda maybe a little bit bigger than we originally anticipated? Oh, this offense is going to operate fine. The tackles are great, and maybe Yonda, as maybe very likely a first ballot Hall of Famer, his absence is actually looming large, and maybe as the season goes on, that offensive line will adjust to life without him. But for now, it looks like there may be a bit of a struggle there. We'll see if that helps. It seems like pass protection, they're fine. Again, great set of tackles, so they obviously don't throw that much.
Well, I think the best thing for them, too, is that they are winning well, except for the KC game, with Lamar not playing his best. I mean, Lamar's not playing anywhere near what he was in his stride. And again, that could be the lack of preseason, that he's just one of those players that needs a little bit more time. But they're winning, and he's not at his top notch. So I would be concerned about that if I were other teams.
Yeah, I mean, he only had 2 rushing attempts yesterday, right?
Yeah.
So 2 rushing attempts, and he scored less than a point more than Derek Carr. So about 0.7 points more than Derek Carr last week. So, and Derek Carr had one of his better games. So that says what Lamar Jackson's floor really is, 18, 19 points, which is, he'll take it every day of the week. But we also know what he can do, and they don't even look like they're in that place of getting there. And they didn't have a lot of turnover outside of Hayden Hurst. They didn't have much turnover on that offense either. It's like still Willie Snead, Marquise Brown, Miles Boykin, Mark Andrews are still the same guys. You're right, Yonder's not there, but for the most part, it's still the same team. They don't even look close to hitting their stride yet. So obviously they could have a big second half of the year, and they're 4-1. It's crazy when you think about that.
Also, whoever called the Steelers as a contender last week, I think it was both of you, actually. So good. Jared's pointing out that he remembers. Thanks for remembering the good calls, not the bad ones.
Yeah, I'm all over the Steelers. Steelers look good. Roethlisberger looks good, and he's doing whatever he wants to whoever he wants right now. He's amazing. And,
Claypool's a monster. The Canadian kid, Mapletron, really transforming before our eyes.
The Notre Dame project. It helped that Deontay Johnson went out, and with the spasms. And if Deontay Johnson comes back, I'm not sure Claypool's going to be – he's going to be good, I think. He has the size and he has what Roethlisberger likes to go down the field. But with Deontay Johnson back and Juju back, I think people that are counting on him getting those 4 touchdowns every week are going to be a little disappointed because Roethlisberger is known for one thing. He's going to move that ball around. He's going to give another wide receiver the chance to shine.
Unless
he has
No.
AB. I mean, Antonio Brown's the only wide receiver he's really hyper targeted, and that's because he was the best wide receiver in the league for about half a decade. So it would have been foolish for him not to hyper target Brown. But as great as Claypool played, he's not Antonio Brown. It's I mean, a completely different game, completely different body type. I know I was listening to the football guys, and they were saying it looked like DK Metcalf as a rookie, which is that's a pretty good comparison if you're Claypool, of course.
Even when Juju in his first year with Antonio Brown, Juju had more yards and more targets. So I mean, I think Claypool's going to be good. Pick him up on the waiver wire, but don't expect like 4 touchdowns every week. That's just not going to happen.
Got a question from Yeti DFS, and just maybe sell Claypool. That might be the time to do it. We want to get our opinions on the Vikings blunder. I guess blowing the lead. I know Dalvin Cook did leave the game with an injury. I wonder how much that factored in there. Facing what I would say is probably the second or third best quarterback in the league also factors in. So any opinions about the Vikings last night?
I've got an opinion right now. I'm going to give you my opinion, then I'm going to be quiet. Listen to the two of you. I watched Kirk Cousins go 16. And the Vikings go 16 plays for 55 yards to settle for a field goal. I switched off. I'm done. The Vikings bored me to sleep. I'm cooked with them. I don't care. They need teams to actually. 16 plays for 55 yards and a Dan Bailey field goal. And oh man, I went to bed after that. I was like, I'm not even tired. I'm just done watching. I was done. I found out the Seattle won. I had no idea. I was just done. I was like, no. Finished.
That's what they are. I mean, Alexander Madison did well. He had someone said that he is probably one of the best backup. He could start on another team. Like he had 20 for 112. I mean, don't get me wrong. They missed Dalvin Cook, but Madison was capable. But I think that's what the Vikings are with Kirk Cousins. They're not going to. He's not going to blow it up. I mean, I was surprised they kept it that close, quite honestly. And it was all their defense the first half. Once their defense
I mean, that's the first time that defense has really come together and played well. I know it's a bunch of young corners. The pass rush has been. They're still missing Danielle Hunter. It seems like Ngakoue is finally healthy. So I think, the defense, maybe not. Through the first 4 weeks of the season, that was the defense you pick on, DFS-wise, or, start your sort of, middling flex players against the Vikings because they'll probably produce well. But I think maybe now, at the very least, we can take away is that they're not the automatic start against them anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, at least for half a game anyway. I mean, the second half of the game kind of took them to – but the first half, they were a decent defense. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say they're not going to face Russell Wilson every week. I think, quality of quarterback does factor in there. I don't know that most quarterbacks would have been able to come back against that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just think there's a reason the Seahawks are 5-0, and it's not because of their defense. It's because the man behind center, and that's Russell Wilson, who very well, at the very least, should get an MVP vote this year. At least is finally his first MVP vote. It won't go to Bobby Wagner. It will go to Russell Wilson if someone votes for the Seahawks for an MVP. Whether he wins or not, well, we'll have to keep watching.
11 minutes for a field goal.
Mike Zimmer at his finest, isn't it?
It's prime time. I'm just... so bad. And look, full credit, he started on his goal line, but come on, man. Come on. Terrible.
All right, speaking of prime time, how about we get to these previews of these two games? And again, 2 games, right? So we'll start with the Monday night game. Chargers at New Orleans. Right now, BUSR odds, the over-under at 50. The Saints favored by 7. And of course, as always, go to busr.com/going-for-2. Get the 20% bonus offer when joining up. And again, busr.com/going-for-2. So you remember. Shameless plug, not so shameless plug. Thanks. Again, BUSR sponsor where we're getting all this over-under information. Again, Dan, thanks for these notes here. Saints have won 4 of their last 5 meetings against the Chargers, I'm assuming, or you're not talking about the Saints games, I guess. What are they? What are the Saints? They've lost 2 games this year. That's right. They lost the Raiders and the Chargers. Yeah. And the Chargers also, I guess they're 1-3, right?
Yeah. They haven't won since Tyrod Taylor busted his life.
So do you think Herbert's getting his first win as a starter?
I think the Chargers might win. Actually, they're still going to go without the Saints. Are still going to go without Michael Thomas today because apparently he can't get along. He doesn't play well with others on his team.
Shocker.
And Justin Herbert is good. I mean, he's not great, but he's good. The Tampa Bay game, they should have won that game. I mean, that Tom Brady made that miraculous comeback in the second half. That's on the defense. That wasn't on Justin Herbert. And granted, the defense is still the same, but I think Lattimore and Jenkins are still out on the Saints. So
I believe so. They're vulnerable, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're like what? Wait, I know this. They are 14th against the pass, giving up 236 yards. Herbert's averaging 290 or 303 yards a game. I think it's going to be him and Keenan Allen all day long, all day. I hope.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting to see how they go without Austin Eckler. I think that's a big one too. Josh Kelly, Justin Jackson. We'll see what the rotation's like. I know with dynasty squads, I've been reluctant to add. It should be a no-brainer, but I just want to see how this goes. I want to see what those splits look like. Kelly has looked great. The fumbling is a bit of a worry. I think what Herbert's done well. I'm not the biggest Herbert fan either. I think he looks good. But what he has done well is he has lent on his top guys. Keenan Allen, target share to him. Hunter Henry. Play to your strengths. Like, why are you trying to work other guys in that might not be as competent as that? Okay, the deep ball to Guyton every now and again, okay, that's fine. But if you're going to throw 12, 13 times to Keenan Allen, they've got him at, I think, 7 at the moment for receptions. You'll take that all day because he will do that. Hunter Henry at this point, he looks good too. I think he's not really trying to play above himself at the moment. He looks like he's doing what he can. And if playing to Hunter Henry and playing to Keenan Allen are your strengths, then repetitively do it. And he's doing that well. And I think that's the best thing now. I think in his debut, he nearly hit with Mike Williams a few times on some big plays. They look good. They look good together at that point. Some of them weren't connecting. And, if Mike Williams is back to full health, that could be pretty cool to see going forward. But I think, if you're going to lean on those two guys, he could be in good stead. But I really want to see how the Chargers look without Austin Eckler.
I will say, the talk with Herbert was, okay, he's not quite ready for the NFL. He's going to need some time. It's going to be, probably a longer season for Tyrod Taylor. Seems pretty ready. The game doesn't seem too big for him. I think Hunter Henry might be the key tonight because the Saints have been allowing monster production at tight ends basically all season. It's been a point of emphasis for opposing offenses to target them, and they, even though there's talent there, still have not been able to properly cover. So I think, for Herbert's sake, and for that one team I have Hunter Henry in, target Hunter Henry. Really close matchup. Really could use that. You could use Hunter Henry. It's a league where we play 2 opponents per week, so 2 matchups riding on Hunter Henry having a big night.
I think Hard Knocks absolutely painted Justin Herbert in a terrible light. It looked like he couldn't read a playbook, couldn't make a play. It made him look. I know this is going to sound funny, but it made him look amateur. I thought Hard Knocks did him zero justice. I'm not the biggest Hard Knocks person either. I don't normally like to watch it, but there's nothing going on in the world right now, so why not? But and it was hard to be fair, it's hard to put on a show where nothing can go on. No practice games, no preseason matches, all that sort of thing. But he looked almost out of his depth with it. He didn't look very good, and Tyrod looked like that guy. It's a shame, but let's see what he does against the Saints. They don't look too great at the moment. We'll see what happens.
I've never seen Hard Knocks.
Same here.
I've never watched it.
I'm not the biggest fan. I think it's overrated.
But I heard that the team gets the final cut on what they show, is what I've read.
Yeah.
And know that and this is, I guess, a failing of Anthony Lynn, maybe. I think that he was just way too loyal to Tyrod Taylor. I think he wanted Tyrod Taylor to succeed. And so when Tyrod went out and his wavering, if you will, on naming Herbert the leader and naming Herbert, telling what a great job he did. I don't think it was malicious at all. I think that he was loyal to a fault to Tyrod, and maybe, you know, he didn't think that Herbert, like he said, he wanted him to sit a year like the Patrick Mahomes model now. So, you know, you have this really great rookie come in, and if he can sit behind someone who can show him stuff for a year, he's going to excel. And you put him in the last couple of weeks, and he does good. And I think that was what he was trying to do. But I always thought the knock on Herbert was his arm strength. Was that not it? It was his ability to read playbooks?
I think what I was hearing more was when outside of structure, if the first read's not there, he kind of just puts his eyes down and runs. Like he's athletic. If the pressure gets to him, he makes mistakes off it. It seemed like that never really changed in his time in Oregon, and that it was, you know, when everything's going great, it's perfect. I mean, and you know, we'll say that with Derek Carr, right? If the first read's there, it's great. Outside of structure, But again, they just beat the Chiefs yesterday, so I really can't criticize Derek Carr anymore. And again, Herbert looks like he's reading defense as well. Obviously, finding the open guy a few times against Tampa Bay deep, and the arm strength definitely looks there. Though, if that was a criticism, that seems like that was a criticism that was false. And I mean, to a certain extent, arm strength is probably one of the least important things anyway. I mean, most of these guys are good enough athletes that, comparative to, say, Josh Allen, yeah, you could see not the greatest arm strength, but as long as these guys can throw it 40, 50 yards downfield with, accuracy or somewhat accuracy, they're fine. You don't need to throw it 70 yards from your knees to make a difference in the NFL. So thoughts about this game? I know maybe not necessarily picking the Saints outright, but by 7-point favorites, I think I'd take the Chargers there, take the points, and I don't think the Saints are going to win by that much if it is the case.
Yeah, I don't like this going over 50 either. I think this will be tighter than what it looks, I think. Chargers +7. Yeah, I mean, again, it depends how they can run the ball here. I think that's the biggest thing I want to see here. And, if Lattimore and Jenkins are out, that's going to be tough to stop anyhow. They could get exposed. It can happen to the Saints, and, hoping Drew Brees can play catch-up, that's another thing, because he looks like he's lost a step, and maybe he needed that preseason. He doesn't look too good at the moment, but, it's Drew Brees. He's a legend, and I'm sure he will catch up at some point, but I still think the Saints will do this comfortably. Traquan Smith still looks pretty damn good at the moment. Jared Cook looks like he's back. Emmanuel Sanders will play a role. And I think Alvin Kamara is going to go absolutely ham today. So I think I'd take I think they'll do this kind of easily, to be honest. The Chargers, it has to be a shootout for them to get to that point, and I'm not sure. I think New Orleans can absolutely go full Kirk Cousins as well. So, there's a chance that they could take a 12-minute drive and keep Herbert off the field and just slow everything down. That's also within the realm at this point. So
they certainly have the running backs for it.
Yeah, I mean,
Carr and Murray.
I think they've got Latavius Murray at 45 yards today. I think the over-under on that's 45 yards. And if the Saints control this game, that looks like a sure smash as well. So
good point, yeah.
Well, I think that Bosa is questionable. Have they decided yet? Bosa's questionable for the game, and Chris Harris Jr. is out. They lost Derwin James at the beginning of the year. I mean, they certainly have – the Chargers defense has holes that someone like Brees should be able to exploit, like Brady did last week. But I just think the Chargers are going to – I would take the points and go Chargers. I don't think the Saints are going to beat them by a touchdown. I mean, I just don't – the Saints haven't really shown that much, have they? I mean,
yeah. I don't know. I think the Saints at home, prime time, I kind of like that as well.
They lost that bid to get what they wanted 25,000 fans, and the mayor said no. So the only people who are going to be in the stands are friends and family. I mean, yeah, they're home, and that probably helps Breeze out a lot because he gets to sleep in his own bed and whatnot. But I don't see the crazy New Orleans fans helping them out as much as they usually do.
We'll see. It's going to be fun to see how that plays out anyway, I think. It'll be good to see.
First off, hi to EMO, but secondly, got a question here from Brandon Lane. So last minute flex decision, hope and wait for AJ Brown or stick with Joshua Kelly? I think I'd be more inclined to play it safe. It depends on how many points you need, what your expectations are in terms of, okay, like, are you looking, do you need like 50 points to win, or that kind of factors in. But I would be more inclined to play it safe with Joshua Kelly. A, Brown coming off the injury, and B, if he plays, I'm going to assume he's going to get shadowed by Tre'Davious White. Maybe they put White on Jonnu Smith at times just because he's the healthy target that they're really worried about. But I'm not thinking much expectations for AJ Brown. He's not someone I would hold through in the risk. To me, it's Jonnu Smith and Ryan Tannehill in Superflex. Those are the Titans players you really want to. I'm willing to risk wait it out for, but I don't think AJ Brown this week. Joshua Kelly, I mean, the Saints have been allowing touchdowns to running backs. There is some production there available. Joshua Kelly seems like the goal line back. Maybe Justin Jackson, his first wing back, takes over that role. But if Kelly maintains the role of the goal line guy as he has been this season, I think he could be, he could run in some touchdowns. So I would go with Joshua Kelly.
In PPR, who's more likely at this point? Who at this point for you guys is more likely to see receiving work as the running back for the Chargers, Joshua Kelly or Justin Jackson?
Joshua Kelly.
Right. So that to me is,
how many targets
I'd agree. I'd still agree. If they had to go to one of the two of them, I'd still probably lean on Kelly as well. And if that's the case in terms of PPR value, I think that almost 2-3 receptions, whatever he can get. They've got him at 20 yards, I think, 20.5 yards to over-under for him as well, receiving yards. I think he can do that as well. Brown, I think, the benefit is Corey Davis is out as well, right? So I think that there is enough reason to want to go with Brown. But for me, you also know that Joshua Kelly's playing today. You have no idea what that Titans game is going to kick up. Anything could happen with that. I'd probably go with Kelly purely because we know he's actually going to play tonight. That's terrible advice. He's playing, and that's a start, but he's got a pulse, and the Titans don't. So,
yeah, I think there's too much risk with Brown. Kelly has 7 targets on the year so far. Obviously, Austin Eckler's been 17, so more than doubled that up. So with him out, it very likely.
He's averaging 3 a game since week.
As the rookie, though, I do wonder if Kelly, Justin Jackson has been in the system longer. Maybe he knows the route combinations better. So I could see maybe that being, as we've seen, Anthony Lynn loves his veterans. So maybe he puts him out. Justin Jackson gets more play as the third down back. I think that could be a fear. But it's probably not going to be like Eckler, where Eckler would just monopolize it all. Maybe a 50-50 split. Like both running backs are playing both roles in order to keep the defense off balance. You're not really sure. Because if you telegraph it too much, Kelly's our early down guy, Jackson's our pass catcher, that probably isn't to the Chargers' advantage. So I could see it being closer to that role is split between them. But again, I think Kelly with the goal line back, being the red zone running back likely, I think that the touchdown upside is there. So I would go Kelly. I think, Gladys, what do you?
Joshua Kelly. I think that, yeah.
I know Yeti DFS, one of our going for 2 cohorts, he's saying he'd risk Brown. So maybe 3-1 if you count that one, Brandon. But I think the three of us here anyway are all saying play it safe with Joshua Kelly.
Yeah.
Any more thoughts about this game? Or move on to the Tuesday night football. That's weird to say.
Tuesday night.
So Bills at Titans. Over under of 53. I think that's actually strange that this one is higher than the Saints Chargers game. I'd expect that to be a more high scoring game. Bills are 3.5 road favorites right now. So just that thought, that over under of 53, I think that's 2 great defenses. I think that's a smash under.
I agree. I didn't know the over under is that high, actually. 53 for the Titans Bills game?
Is that correct? Maybe I'm wrong. Uh-oh. Sorry, folks.
53. Good old Kyle. 53. That's really weird, I think. Unless they're...
Are you sure?
To just score a shit ton of points. What?
I'm gonna check BUSR right now at BUSR.com. They have it as 53. That's what they have. So
I would say this. I think the Titans defense they can be had. They can be had. 33 points, 30 points from the Jags, 31 from the Vikings. Sorry, 30 from the Vikings, 30 from the Jaguars. So they can be had. And week one, Denver, that was week one. A lot of things happened in week one. We can move past that. But Gardner Minshew went off. Kirk Cousins went off. So it's one of those things. And you got Josh Allen coming to town. I mean, that's, to me, I don't know. I kind of like the over. Home favorite. Was it a home underdog in the overs? I kind of like 3.5 for the Titans at 53. I'll live dangerously on that one. I kind of like it. I think that'll go over.
I do wonder if.
53?
Yeah, why not?
Go over 53 points?
Why not? Why not? I'll go over 53. Yeah, I think the Bills can put. How much can the Bills put up? The Bills are going to give you 30 a week.
Yeah, hopefully.
And the Titans are giving up 30 a week, and they've put up 33 and 31 the last two games. So,
but you're saying then the Bills defense isn't.
I think they can be had. Yeah, I think the Titans can be had. And the Bills defense, I mean, they look a little leaky as well at this point. Obviously, with how the Rams came back, that's something too. Like they're there, 28 points from the Dolphins. They had 32 put on them from the Rams. 23 by the Raiders. Like
with the Rams, you're talking Cooper, Kupp, Robert Woods, Tyler Higbee, Gerald Everett. With the Dolphins, you're talking not Preston Williams at the times, but you're talking Devontae Parker. I don't see the.
We've also seen games where Khalif Raymond goes off. You know what I mean? Like Ryan Tannehill.
100-yard game. That is true.
It could be a Michael Pruitt could be a guy. They do this. Anthony Burke, they do this. The Titans can do this. And, can the Titans get to 22, 23 points?
3 touchdowns?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
right.
Why not? Like, can they get to 24? Yeah, I think if the Bills can put up that, I think the Bills will put up 30 easy here. I think they can do it. Josh Allen is, I'm not a Josh Allen guy, but he is ridiculous at this point. He's tearing everything up. And, again, you got two teams that are starting to get caught late in games. Give me more points than we think.
I mean, sorry, Brandon. It seems like Brandon did mention he was going to play it safe. But if you're looking at that over/under, maybe you wonder if Brown, if that is a high-score game, maybe Brown does get some action. But I knowing that, I'm still going to take Joshua Kelly. I do wonder, with all this time off and the uncertainty of this week, maybe the defenses are affected more, and the offenses don't necessarily have to do too much to exploit them. Maybe because I think that was kind of the conventional thinking this year. Okay, if teams aren't, no preseason, barely any contact in training camp, if teams and defenses aren't quite used to hitting yet, maybe they're the ones that are more rusty than the offenses. And we certainly saw the crazy amount of touchdowns at the start of the season, and just through 3 weeks breaking all sorts of records. So maybe, that's one effect of COVID that fantasy managers almost like, is that there is so much offensive potential. So maybe they're thinking that with, both with such a weird week, maybe neither of these defenses are quite ready to play as they should be. So a few things here, maybe more debate here. Dan, you're saying Gabe Davis over John Brown. I know John Brown's not 100%, but the fact that he has been playing the last few weeks, and he's still, I believe, second on the team in red zone targets. It seems like outside of Diggs, he really is that number 2. I'd still prefer Brown. I should clarify. I am a big John Brown guy, but at this point with his calf and all that sort of thing, we've seen what happens when he goes into games questionable. He's that guy he'll tough it out. He'll go out there, but I don't think he's that effective. He might be that decoy guy. Gabe Davis has looked good the last 2 games. He's been pretty solid for the Bills, and I'm saying this week, Gabe Davis, if you're playing in showdowns or whatnot, I'd like to know what he is actually worth on a showdown slate. I think it'd be pretty interesting. Okay, do you asking us to look it up, or are you
not? No, just rhetoric. I'm just going on with it.
Okay.
John Brown. Well, you won't find a bigger John Brown fan than I am, and I hope he's good. And him and Diggs look amazing. And Gabe Davis has been an incredible recruit this year in their draft. But the three of them, they can be pretty damn cool at this point. And I'm just saying this week, I kind of like Gabe Davis to have a better week than John Brown, because that questionable tag for John Brown. Like, I've got him in a few lineups, and it is horrible. Horrible is a word because he has the ability to put up a goose egg. So I'm not into that either.
Davis is going for 3,300. He's like the fourth lowest. Oh, no. There's Lord. 3,000 is the lowest. He's going for 33.
That's, close to the minimum. I'm assuming John Brown's probably, in the 6,000 range, maybe higher.
John Brown's only 39.
It's not too bad on both. So
Michael Thomas is the highest, and he's 6'9". So, and then Stephon Diggs is 6'7", and then it just drops precipitously after Keenan Allen. So,
okay.
top three, and then they go. No one else is going to score any points.
So maybe take a shot at either. If you think Davis being healthier than Brown is the advantage, because even Cole Beasley got banged up last week. I don't think he has a questionable tag, so he's expected to play. But is he 100%? Maybe Gabe Davis is the only one of them that is. So that might be the smart play there, Dan.
Yeah, John Brown at 3,900. You're right. Gabe Davis 3,300. And
where's Cole Beasley? Just for curious sakes.
And Adam Humphries is also out with as well. So it looks like it's Brown, Khalif Raymond, and a bunch of guys no one's ever heard of.
Who will probably score 4 touchdowns.
No idea who he is. That's okay. That's okay. But Gabe Davis,
our listeners have so much faith in us now. Who? But to your point with McCole Pruitt and Anthony Firkser, it seems like the Bills are more vulnerable to tight ends than they are to wide receivers. So as well as Jonnu Smith, maybe that's how the Titans choose to exploit the Bills' defense. Yeah,
Arthur Smith, the OC, he was a tight ends coach. That's where he made his bread and butter for the Titans when I think it was Mariota was drafted, and obviously had Delaney Walker there as well. And then as he started to make his way up to OC, those guys started to get that work. I think Delaney Walker's massive year. Art Smith probably had a massive say in that. And last year as well, you could kind of see Jonnu Smith starting to take some strides towards the end of the year. I think that was his first year as OC too. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Art Smith lean on 2-3 tight ends at a time. That would not shock me at all. And that sucks as well because no one wants to see that. Such a Vikings move.
Oh my God.
The worst.
They
pillage themselves.
You'll love them. They're going against Atlanta next week, so he's going to put up 45 points on them.
We'll see what happens.
Crazy. Although they have that new coach bounce back, so maybe they'll turn it around.
Maybe if Minnesota and Buffalo play, it'll be the Minneapolis migraine for Vikings fans.
Just so much clock eaten up. Just so much clock gone. Just watching it, should be sitting in office, just watching a clock tick.
Game's only been on for half an hour. How was it halftime?
The worst.
3 drives, first half. 3 drives.
I'm never drafting a Vikings player again, so I don't have to watch a Vikings game again. That's what I'm doing.
Technically, you don't have to watch any game you draft any player for. It's all the numbers, man.
I'd make a point of this. I'd stick with it.
All right. Any other thoughts for anyone want to circle back to the Chargers-Vikings game or Chargers-Saints game? Minnesota. Minnesota beat the New Orleans that bad in the playoffs that they stole their name. I know. Chargers-Saints game tonight. Bills-Titans tomorrow on Tuesday. Any final thoughts about either game?
Just play smart. Play smart. You don't know what the Titans are going to happen in there. Play smart. Last week, apparently, I left Ben Roethlisberger in my lineup, and I had Derek Carr sitting on the bench. Just make sure you double-check your lineups on people, because and especially, they mentioned it. G mentioned it yesterday. If you're in a league that allows you to, pick a player that might go in case one of the Bills do that tonight, like pick up Jackson, and I'm sure he's available in a lot of leagues. And have him as your available guy to go in case.
Or Gabriel Davis.
Or Gabriel. Well, no, that would be the game.
Oh, right? Okay, you meant for tonight. Yeah. Okay, sorry, yeah.
Yeah,
right, because
canceled tomorrow. Because
Gabriel Davis would actually be the good pick if John Brown is out. That would be if you have John Brown, you wait in your lineup, then that would be smart to pick up or even Khalif Raymond, just an extra player there because you don't really have any other options to get out. But yeah, if the game is canceled entirely, then
play smart.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess at this point, if you still have Patriots or Broncos players in your lineup, you could probably move them. They haven't locked because they haven't had a game, right? But like to your thought of if you accidentally left Ben Roethlisberger in your lineup, like if you accidentally left Julian Edelman in your lineup, you still have time to take him out and replace him with a Justin Jackson or even any of those Bills or Titans players. So double check that.
The Scott Fishbowl, I left apparently Jerry Jeudy in my lineup and Chase Claypool on my bench.
Ouch.
And I cried. I'm not going to lie. There were tears, and they were mine. It was painful. I don't know. I guess I forgot that the game was canceled, which is all they talk about out here because, everyone's pissed that they didn't get to play yesterday or tonight. So, yeah, I'm not even sure how that happened. But it did.
So, I guess, more recapping of Sunday. We still have some time here. Dan, you had something about Chase Edmonds. RB7 so far.
That was this week. This week it was RB7 for the week in PPR. And over the past 5 games, he's outscored Kenyon Drake. The thing is, Kenyon Drake's getting the run. He's getting the work. It's just, for a talented guy, what's he had, like 5 targets? And I get how good Chase Edmonds is. Kenyon Drake, he's really good. Like, he can be really good. And I don't know if it's preservation at this point. I have no idea. But it seems like Edmonds is going to be a flex play every week. And you can feel safe with that. We had 20 points this week again, 22, 23 points this week, RB7. So that seems to be a theme there. So he's out-targeting Drake. He's getting out-touched by him as well. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. And I think another one I wanted to touch on is all those tight ends that you drafted in those early to middle rounds got absolutely hammered this week. So it's something to keep an eye on, especially for those who play DFS as well. Like, it really is, I think, matchup based. I think the Saints aren't really that good of a defense to tight ends. Hunter Henry's probably the play. That's the thing. So Eric Ebron probably should have had a better day than what he did. He had a couple fumbles that didn't work in his favor. But think about it. Kittle, Gronk, Ebron, Higbee, Hurst all finish outside the top 12. And Zach Ertz, surprisingly, tight end 35 with less than 2 points in PPR. Zach Ertz, a guy you probably spent a 3rd, 4th round pick on. With none of those players really, it's not like Jeffrey or Jackson. None of those guys are there. Rager's not there. All these guys are out, and Ertz is just nowhere. And I don't know if that's a scheme thing where teams are just shutting him down and telling them to go figure it out. Maybe it is. I don't know. But that would be a worry to everyone that invested in tight ends early as well, I think.
And going to Dan's point, remember last year too that, oh my God, what is Kingsbury had no problem sitting David Johnson and putting Kenyon Drake in. So I don't think he'd have any problem sitting Kenyon Drake and putting Chase Edmonds in if he feels that they're not doing what expectations are.
Yeah,
what his expectations are.
That's a tough one there because obviously Hopkins is king.
Yeah,
and then from there it's anything, but. Even to see that play out and Edmonds do what he did, and you're just kind of sitting there going, man, Drake was a borderline, 1st round, early 2nd round pick in most formats this year, except for maybe dynasty startups. He really was. Best ball, you think about it, redraft, PPR format, Drake was really a guy people had massive hopes for because of what he kind of did. Again, you go through his splits as well from last year. He had a lot of games sub 40 yards. That was also a thing that would have bothered you when he was rushing it. That's there, but he was bailed out by a lot of receiving work. Again, from what I remember watching last year, Edmonds missed time through to injury as well.
Yep.
And then Edmonds, there was like a transition period from when David Johnson was out and Kenyon Drake came in. Chase Edmonds went absolutely ham against the Giants. He had like 30, 35 points. A lot of that was receiving work too. So I think that's kind of where they may have nursed him back into this year and where he's seen his role take off. And Drake has had to have a bit of a back seat, but, he's still getting the work rushing. It's just, you've got Kyler Murray. He's there as well. He's just going to eat into that too if he wants. So, hopefully it works out for him moving forward. But at this point, you've got Drake there as an RB2, I guess, RB3, and Edmonds as a flex. So that's tough to see.
Just to speak on Edmonds, yes, Hopkins is king at almost every point of the field. but Chase Edmonds actually has more red zone targets than Hopkins. It's 4-3, so it's only one more target, but he's right now leading the Cardinals in red zone targets.
Yeah,
so.
it was one of those things that was in the latest game plan for the week. Cheap little plug, that one. But I had that last week, and it was one of those things where you look at it. He was third on the team for targets. He was one behind Larry Fitzgerald. Obviously, Hopkins was double, 2.5 times more, but yeah, he's getting that red zone look as well. It's happening. So something to keep an eye on.
And Fitzgerald, one of several, you could say maybe high-profile players that doesn't have a red zone target. Actually, it's funny. DK Metcalf entering last week had 0, but then got 4 suddenly. So that went away pretty quickly.
It can change pretty quickly, sure. But it's been a funny week or two. Again, like you look at the wide receivers that were in the top 12 this week, and it was just all over the place. Claypool, Fulton, Cooks, Crowder, Preston Williams. Jamison Crowder with Joe Flacco. That to me is that is insane. He had a very decent game for fantasy. The Jets still stink, but in terms of fantasy, Jamison Crowder is going to get it done for you too. So, he's a borderline, top 12, top 15 receiver every week going forward if that volume keeps going. It's like Robbie Anderson. We spoke about it earlier. He's getting the volume. It's not DJ Moore. It's not Curtis Samuel. It's definitely not Ian Thomas. While McCaffrey is out, it's Robbie Anderson, and that's the thing. Like, you got to follow that work, and if that's Chase Edmonds getting the work, or if it's now Brandon Cooks. Maybe we were a week too early on Cooks. Maybe it had to be until Bill O'Brien left. Maybe that's the thing. There's a lot of things that go on week to week. But like Crowder with Flacco or Darnold, that's got to be a no-brainer going forward.
I do think, Brandon Cooks actually poses an interesting question. Is he a sell high right now, or do you think that this production this week is more sustainable now that Bill O'Brien's gone? Do you think it's going to be better schemed towards Brandon Cooks?
Well, Deshaun Watson had mentioned not this week, but last week, that the reason he wasn't targeting Brandon Cooks was because of the way that teams were scheming him, and that they had to figure out a different way to get him the ball. So whether, they're figuring it out now that O'Brien's gone, although wasn't O'Brien supposed to be offensive-minded? So, and
I will say, I've thought, as much as we could criticize Bill O'Brien all you want, I thought as an offensive play caller, he's actually been pretty great throughout his career. I thought last year he adjusted really well to the fact that offensive line was really bad, and they used DeAndre Hopkins a lot less downfield last year as a result, knowing that we don't have the time to let him go downfield. So in order to get him the ball in his hands, we're just going to target him from the slot, shorter routes. Certainly, he feasted, got a ton of receptions for that. So I do think Bill O'Brien deserves credit for adjusting how that is. But now that he doesn't have, it seems like everything was designed for Hopkins. Right. They didn't really have that one person this year that we're going to design every play to at least be a solid option for this receiver. And, if they triple cover, someone else is open, right? But this year it didn't seem, it just seemed like, and to be fair, he wasn't play calling until the very last game either. So I do wonder if that factored in. Of course, it was a little too late by that point.
I'll say this about O'Brien. He was the head coach when they grabbed Brock Osweiler and paid him, right?
Yes, when they take him from.
And he was also the one that decided to start. Was it Drew Stanton over Deshaun Watson? Was it Stanton?
I don't remember.
And he also tried playing Ryan Mallett as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely remember the Mallett thing. Because I guess they were together in New England, weren't they?
Right. So before Deshaun Watson was a thing, are we sure that Bill O'Brien was that guy? Because I kind of feel like it's Deshaun Watson.
I think part of it is DeAndre Hopkins as well. I think that combination of those two.
A big thing to do with that as well. So
that's fair.
I think he got bailed out by individual talent. I think that's what it is. And, good luck to him moving forward. He could get another coaching gig. Hope it's not another GM gig. But I also think there's a guy that he made, or he was behind some moves that were absolutely detrimental to his team. Not just Hopkins, not just
Tunzel.
Like Jadeveon Clowney, Dwayne Brown. Like, these are things that happened. You've paid Miami for Kenny Stills. Like, this is insane. So to think that this guy's an offensive guy and he can't get Kenny Stills, a guy that he specifically brought in, or Brandon Cooks, who he specifically brought in, or not even really, Johnson's been okay. I don't know. I think he kind of been bailed out by two players who had a really good rapport, and he sunk that ship on his own accord, and he lost his job for it.
That's a good point.
That's true.
All right, so here we are at 8 o'clock, 15 minutes to kickoff for this Chargers-Saints game. Get any final thoughts about Week 5 so far?
I'm going points. Putting money down on the points. Chargers. What is Justin Herbert? What are they saying for yards passing? Do you know? Right off the top of your head?
I feel like it was 265.
Okay. I'm going over on that too.
Passing yards at least, we're looking 281 for Herbert. Breeze
okay.
266.
266 on Breeze?
Yeah.
I might go over and under. All right.
I don't know about Breeze at that point, but I also think I also like Justin Herbert rushing yards. I think it was like over 17 rushing yards, give or take. It's a sneaky one you can add in there too. Allen over on receptions, Josh Kelly over on receiving yards as well for 20.
Ooh, yeah.
What was the receptions for Keenan Allen?
20 receptions, I think it was over 7 for Keenan Allen. I feel like that's a layup. And I think Josh Kelly receiving yards, it's like 20.5.
Because even if Eli Apple is the healthiest of the receivers and he plays in the slot, I'm pretty sure Keenan Allen's going to be able to handle himself against Eli Apple.
Is he still there? I don't think he was still there. But yeah,
he's the one. I think he's the one that Michael Thomas got into the fight with.
No. It was Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah,
I read that wrong. Sorry, folks. I keep being wrong.
No, Chauncey Gardner's been really good, but especially I like him with IDP. But it's also one of those things where I kind of like Herbert rushing. He might get that 1-2 rushes and he gets over on that too. But I like the unders on this game as well. You can convince me on the Chargers +7, but I think the under 50 is going to hit.
Okay.
Also, fab for Andy Dalton. Where do you guys stand on that?
Wait, what about Andy Dalton?
Fab for Andy Dalton, because this is we're talking about Andy Dalton with probably the best accomplishment of receivers he's had since he had Green, Stills, and Sanu and Eifert. You're walking with you've got
Stills was in Cincinnati. I forgot.
Oh yeah. So you're looking at Lamb, Gallup, Cooper, Schultz hasn't seen out of place. You've got Pollard and Elliott there with a line to protect him.
Marvin Jones. Eifert was healthy.
Yeah, was it Stills or Marvin Jones?
I think it was Jones. I think Stills was with the Saints before.
Yeah, so there you go, Marvin.
Pretty sure it's Marvin Jones.
There you go.
Similar skill sets on
Either
both.
Way,
I can see why.
Whatever. At the same point, you're talking about, and AJ Green would have been peak AJ Green as well, but Dalton Fab is something that people are going to, I think, go off on.
If it's a super flex league and you need a quarterback, I'd throw it all.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think you're going to get a better what better situation? Let's say Russell Wilson gets hurt. Are you going to throw all that at Geno Smith?
Well, yeah, I think Dalton is going to steer the ship. It won't be the same. People shouldn't expect the same, but at the same point,
it's a bad defense. He'll have to throw a lot of attempts. So
we're also talking about it's going to be week 6. They'll have a bye week in there too. So it's not like we're closer to the fantasy playoffs than not at this point. So yeah, Superflex 2 QB leagues. I think you've got to kind of hammer down on Dalton this week as well. And,
in a single quarterback, I don't know that I'd spend more than 5%, as much as just because I'm assuming even that. There might still be, because I've seen in some single quarterback leagues, Teddy Bridgewater is still available. So I think I'd prefer guys like that. But if it's a single quarterback league where a little bit of a deeper league, maybe a 14 or 16 team, there's a bit more scarcity, and he's there aren't that many starters available, 5-10%. But yeah, it's super flex. I'm willing to trade. If you could quickly make a trade today and get some extra fab, even just $1 extra fab, put $101, ensure you get him in a super flex league, I'd probably do that.
I think, if especially one QB leagues, Gardner Minshew is a top 12 quarterback at this point. So to rush out and go get Dalton in a 1 QB league, it's probably not ideal because Gardner Minshew is probably available everywhere. Derek Carr is probably available most places, and these guys they're hanging in that realm. But 2 QB Superflex, I think people are going to drop it all on him this week. But I just wanted to see what you guys thought.
That's a good question. Actually, let me think some other ideas. So, Jimmy Garoppolo was benched. How much of that is he hurt? Or was it they were getting blown out? Or was it poor play? I think either way, though, CJ Beathard, probably a good speculative ad Again, maybe not so much. This is more of a super flex thing. If he's out there in any super flex leagues, I'm going to grab him up. I'm not going to spend 100% of fab. For a quarterback that could potentially start, I'm willing to throw 10, 15% fab on him just to make sure I get him. So, and this is one just because the quarterback has been playing so bad this year, and it seems like this team is trying to win. The defense is set for it. They've got a really strong run game. How long before we see Jacoby Brissett back in? He played really well last year. I still attest the first half of last year, he played better than any game Phillip Rivers has played this year. I know they hammered the Jets, but that's saying nothing. Like
all we hear about is how good would it be to see Phillip Rivers with an offensive line. I get Costanzo's been out. Like, Hilton hasn't helped, really. Jack Doyle doesn't help. It's. I don't think they're going to stray from Phillip Rivers at any point. I think Brissett. I know he's your dynasty guy, right? I know you've dropped your. Yeah, okay. I think Brissett's a guy that someone might trade for. I think in the NFL, I think that's not a bad guy.
The Colts already have, so we know that at least one team will.
Yeah, I mean,
another team.
I think he's attainable, but at the same time,
Washington.
Sure, but I don't.
If Washington doesn't really believe that, like, if they really don't want to risk Alex Smith more than they have to, is Brissett really that much worse than Kyle Allen? I get that the familiarity with Ron Rivera, but I think Brissett's better than Kyle Allen. I don't think he's shown more.
I don't think the Colts are going to stray from Phillip Rivers.
Okay.
That would be like, listen, you've just, again, we've been over this before. You've just left a free agency with Jameis Winston, Cam Newton. Like that they missed out on that for Phillip Rivers. Like, this is what they chose to do.
I don't know that Jameis would be that much better with that. With the way that team wants to run it, protect the football, not throw turnovers.
Would he throw it for
Cam
over
Newton
230 a week? Jameis would throw for over 230 a week, and he'd at least make those receivers work. Like, that's the hardest thing. You're looking at T.Y. Hilton, like, he's a ghost. He is. And, like, you're looking at Michael Pittman, if you want comparisons, he's going to go up and get it anyway. He's done nothing. These guys aren't responding to Phillip Rivers, and, like, at least Jameis would make them work for it a little bit. They don't look good. And, if you feel like those receivers aren't the best ones going forward, Cam Newton's one of the best rushing quarterbacks ever. And they let that guy go. Like, he would have at least helped those guys completely. It's just mind-blowing that they went with Phillip Rivers. They thought he was the guy to help them go to the promised land. And he is the same guy he was in San Diego, LA. He looks terrible.
He's looking even worse. Looks very much like last year. Got a wash. I know the Colts play the Packers, so maybe just like last year, he'll come alive against the Packers. But
the Cleveland Browns look like the Legion of Boom. They look like the Legion of Boom against Phillip Rivers. He is just washed. He's washed. We can call it now. It's not getting better for him, but I don't think they're going to stray to Brissett at any point. They're going to ride with that.
I guess it depends on. If the Titans. Again, the Titans are 3-0 right now, and they are right now, as much as some of their wins haven't been so convincing, they are in front in the AFC South. By all accounts, I picked them as my preseason team to win the division. So if they continue that run and it kind of becomes hopeless and Rivers is playing that bad, they may just say, let's keep him in. Maybe if he's playing that bad, he'll give us a better draft pick. As much as I don't think Frank Reich really wants to do that. But if this division's competitive at all and they think that Brissett gives them a better chance, I wouldn't be shocked if we see this late season. But I think
what he's saying is that I don't think at any time Frank Reich is going to think, Brissett's going to give me a better chance because I paid up for Rivers to come here. Yeah. It's kind of like an ego thing. It's not, it's not rational. It's what he's going to think because he brought Rivers in.
I will say, though, how much, and I think this does get overstated a little bit, like how much say does the head coach really have? I believe Ballard's still there. Or wait, who is the coach GM?
Yeah, Chris Ballard's still there. Like, they're all still together, and that's a collective. That's a collective fault. But again, if Jameis isn't, you got Cam Newton.
I agree. A lot of teams hit and missed on Cam Newton.
And not even show interest in that guy. Like, it is ridiculous to think. I understand the health issues that everyone thought that was or wasn't there, but to overlook Cam Newton for Phillip Rivers, who's done nothing lately anyway. Okay, some stats are cool and that, but why? Why is this even a thing? It is just leave him in there. Go for Trevor Lawrence. That's what you're going to do. That's it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, or well, hey, you know what? I think at some point, if they really want to find out what they have, you're probably right. They may even skip Brissett and go right to Jacob Eason. Let's see what we got in the young kid we drafted. If he's like, if it gets to the end of the season, you're out of a playoff race. I don't know how kindly Phillip Rivers will take to the benching, but I think at a certain point, if he's really that bad, then he's clearly not the future of the franchise. They're going to move on next year. But I think the Colts, the Bears, probably two teams that, really strongly regret not taking a look at Cam Newton at the very least. I mean, the Bears gave up draft capital, a 4th-round pick, which, I mean, considering how much cap space the Colts have, you could argue that the $25 million they invested isn't nearly as much as what the Bears invested in a draft pick to, for a long-term player that could, 4th-round pick, they don't always hit. That very well could have been cut in training camp, but, you got to think that both those teams are regretting those decisions right now.
4-1 the Bears, right? 4-1?
They did beat yeah, I think so. Somehow.
I don't know about you guys, but I was watching that game Thursday night against Tampa, and at halftime, I went, how are they in front? It was another thing. Tampa looked like they were dominating the game, and then you're like, 14-13, what's going on here? They're going to do that to teams.
It's great defense. I know, again, I've said it all throughout. I think they're the biggest threat to the Packers in the NFC North at the very least. Maybe Vikings defense kind of turning a corner a little bit we saw, even if it was just for one half, makes it interesting, but I still think the Bears are the biggest threat.
It won't be the Vikings.
Well, we know it won't be the Lions. That's my point.
We can let that ship sail off.
So 2 head coaches fired so far, Dan Quinn, full house, Thomas Dimitrov, another Canadian, unfortunately, not in a good light today. Talk about Chase Claypool on one end, Thomas Dimitrov at the other end. Both gone, so clean house for Atlanta. Just like with Houston, they got rid of their head coach and GM. It was easier, just one paper to sign because it was all Bill O'Brien. A little less paperwork for the Texans in that regard. Who's next? I mean, I think that the obvious one is Adam Gase, but how much is the hot seat on Matt Patricia if this team doesn't start winning games soon?
I think Patricia will go before Gase does. For some reason, I just don't think the Jets want to get rid of Gates.
If they haven't done it now, what makes them say they're going to do it at all? Yeah,
Gase is Teflon at this point.
Yeah,
amazing. And I guess if you guarantee to get the first overall pick and what that can be, Gase probably gives you the best chance at it, right? So if you really think it that way and you really want that pick, then maybe that's why he's around this year, was simply to give them another top pick. And
there are 2 0-5 teams in New York, right? So I'm here in New York City.
New Jersey.
Yeah, well, that too. But, Kyle. Yeah, sure. No one is really talking about the Giants at all at 0-5.
This is
Giants fans aside, like with Joe Judge or whatever. Maybe Dave Gettleman's on a bit of a hot seat in terms of everything that's going on, but no one is talking about the Giants being 0-5 with Daniel Jones. Okay, the fumble thing, whatever, but man, there's been talk out here this week of like they're going to get rid of Sam Darnold for Trevor Lawrence if this keeps up. That's the talk. But there's been no talk.
There's been a lot of that.
Right. There's been more talk about them moving on from Sam Darnold than Adam Gase. That is the world out here at the moment, which is the guy's lost, 85% of his games the last 3-4 years?
His head coaching record is 30-39 in the season.
And that's being pumped up by a 10-6 season with the Dolphins. You take that out. Yeah. He's 30-27, or sorry, 20-20. Wait, he said 30-39. 30-39. So he's 20-33 outside of that season.
I think everyone can agree Sam Darnold isn't. I don't think Sam Darnold's the problem.
No, absolutely not.
No, but they're talking about if they end up at this position that Darnold will go, they'll trade him. And think about what happened. Like Dwayne Haskins, another one. He's pretty much out. They're talking about letting Sam Darnold go before Adam Gase. I don't think Gase is getting fired anytime soon.
Now who's they? Because I don't know that Joe Douglas. It seems like I liked his draft.
Media, my friend. The New York media, my friend.
Yeah. So I don't know that he's going to give it to that pressure. It seems like Joe Douglas at least drafted well. And again, if there was a plan to keep Gase just because you knew you were going to lose with him, I guess that makes sense. Maybe that's the one thing that would help that you'd question Joe Douglas's judgment is why would you keep Adam Gase? He's not the one who hired him.
They boosted their offensive line. The whole point was to protect Darnold and to help Le'Veon Bell do work. It's also the same team that tried to trade for Kalen Ballage. This is the same, like, Douglas isn't
to then sign him, to then release him. Yeah,
like this is what they do out here. But you know, CJ Mosley, obviously he opted out this year. The Jamal Adams saga, like these are things that have happened to the Jets that they really didn't contain at all. Mosley's barely played for them. He came over last year, got hurt, that was it. Then he opts out this year, barely played for them.
He did look good when he was played. I mean, see him on the field, he played well, but yeah.
Sure. Quinn Williams has been okay this year, last year not really existent. So the whole Jets as a whole, they're better than what they look. Obviously, Perryman's been a ghost this year. Denzel Mims hasn't played this year. Like, these are things that have happened to them as well. But the talk isn't really about Gase losing his job. It's about moving on from Sam Darnold at the end of the year. And that, to me, is just insane.
And it also shows Gase has a better PR system than Sam Darnold does, too.
That's, you know, this, the world.
It's funny, you figured Darnold would know how to kiss up to the media.
Without getting sick.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you heard that in stereo, folks, not in mono.
Yeah, but you know, at the same time, like that's what they're talking about out here. They're talking about moving. It's just
it's ridiculous.
The next head coach, I don't know. I don't know. Like you'd think Cincinnati would give it a bit more time with Burrow, but Zach Taylor's not really put a lot of wins on the board. I think that's a guy to look for. Patricia's definitely that guy, I think, as well. Matt Nagy has been somehow I can't even believe how he's got through this year.
I would say that in the first game when CJ Uzomah went down and Zach Taylor didn't go out to see if he was okay, I kind of gave up on him then. Like they showed him on the sideline and he's like looking at his book and his players like on the field writhing in pain. Like he had no idea. Like he doesn't care. I want him gone just for that reason.
Yeah, at least maybe not even go over to see him. And you want to give your medical staff room, but at least look on. You know, show some concern, some emotion for a player. Yeah,
I'll give you a coach. I think if I can, I think Doug Marrone in Jacksonville. I thought he got lucky to get out of last season with his job intact. You know, to still ride with Gardner Minshew this year, I think was very and great for Gardner Minshew. I think everyone loves him and he does a decent job with what he has around him. But you know, with how things happened with TJ Yeldon, Leonard Fournette, every man and his dog wanting to leave, Calais Campbell, Jalen Ramsey, all those sorts of guys, everyone wanting to leave. That, and that might have been a Tom Coughlin thing too, and I get that as well. But Marrone has kind of been lucky with he's done nothing since 2017 and nothing before. So I think he's been getting away with it a little bit too. You'd think if that's a team that struggles, they could be also another team that look that direction.
I will say that I think the room, you know, hearing what's happening there, it's more ownership doesn't want the hassle. You know, if especially if they're going to have to probably look for a new head coach anyway, they probably don't want to do it now, figure out the interim and do it again. They probably just want to do it in one sweep. So I could actually see Marrone they're just going to lame duck him this year. And they'll finish out the season. Maybe what we were thinking similar to Gase is that even though they know he's terrible, they're still just going to wait it out because they just can't be bothered to do it. It seems that's more the Jags, whereas maybe there is a plan to tank with the Jets more.
Dan Quinn was, 0-7 at one point. Their record last year, halfway through the year, was atrocious anyway, right?
Yeah.
So they were in the same trap at this point. Like, it's they really fought for Dan Quinn last year. I think
they finished 7-1. I think there was a big stretch where they won a bunch of games, and that saved his job, essentially.
They fought for him, and I think that's great. Like, a lot of players quit on coaches as well. That happens too. So to see a group of players collectively win and the coach keeps his job, that's kind of cool. But they went through the same thing the start of the season. That had to happen as well.
Yeah, I figured, 0-5 start. One of, I think, the three teams, right? The Falcons and the two New York teams, I think, are they the only 0-5 teams?
Yeah. Look, the Falcons still have Dirk Cutter there as well. He obviously had a head coach experience in Tampa for a while, and he had, at least between, I think it was Fitzpatrick and, I think he was there with Fitzpatrick and Jameis.
Yeah, he was the one that was doing the carousel. Then the next year, Arians came in and was like, none of this, no more of this.
Yeah, I mean,
one quarterback.
Look, I mean, the Buccaneers put up points at that point. So Cutter will know how to get them to score, and I don't think that's really an issue with the Falcons.
Yeah.
You know, the Falcons.
What didn't promote Cutter to the head? They promoted the DC.
Defensive coordinator, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So maybe that's the sign that the defense is what needs to be fixed. So
Yeah.
the emphasis there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully we gave a good emphasis on all the great fantasy content from this week. Again, thank you, Dan. Thank you, Gladys. Thank you, all the listeners. As always, check us out at Going for Two, goingfor2.com. And I'm at Center Says. Dan's at the B League Says. We like to say those things. Gladys is at, I just had it, Never Enough GLT.
Exactly.
GTL. Gladys Louise Taylor. GLT. Never Enough GLT. There you go. I got it, folks.
You guys have a good week. We will see you next Monday.
Yes, likewise. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.
Have a good one. Cheers. Bye.